Social Studies Philosophy by Ali Mills. I will be focusing on Grade 1, specifically Strand A, Heritage and Identity, our changing roles and responsibilities. Under Strand A, we have our overall expectations, which are A1, Application, why roles and responsibilities change, A2, Inquiry, roles, responsibilities, and identity, and A3, Understanding context, roles, relationships, and respect. A1 involves describing some of the ways in which people's roles, relationships with, and responsibilities to others and the world around them relate to who they are and what their situation is, and how and why changes in circumstances might affect people's roles, relationships, and responsibilities as well as their sense of self, with a focus on continuity and change. A2 involves using the social studies inquiry process to investigate some aspects of the interrelationship between their identity or sense of self, their different roles, relationships, responsibilities, and various situations in their daily lives, with a focus on interrelationships. A3 involves demonstrating and understanding that they and other people experience a range of different roles, relationships, and responsibilities, and that all people and the environment should be treated with respect, with a focus on significance. Some of the transferable skills are global citizenship and sustainability, critical thinking and problem solving, digital literacy, and innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. My philosophy of social studies teaching is grounded in the connecting the pieces framework outlined in the Ontario Social Studies curriculum, which emphasizes the integration of goals, vision, and the citizenship education framework to develop responsible, active citizens. I aspire to be a teacher who helps students understand their roles and connect their personal experiences, families, communities, and responsibilities to the world around them. The figure highlights how effective social studies learning happens when curriculum expectations, inquiry, critical thinking, citizenship education, and real life experiences are interconnected. As a future educator, I want my students to see themselves as important members of their family, classroom, and community. My vision for social studies is to develop informed, thoughtful, and engaged citizens. This will guide all aspects of my teaching practices, from the questions I ask to the learning experiences I design. During my practicum experience, I observed that students were most engaged when lessons connected directly to their own lives. For example, when discussing classroom jobs and helping others, students eagerly shared stories about how they help at home, like feeding their pets, tidying up their toys, helping their siblings, and setting the table. This showed me that grade 1 students learn social studies best when they can relate abstract concepts, such as responsibility and citizenship, to familiar experiences. I was able to see that meaningful learning happens when students see themselves reflected in the curriculum. This aligns with Vygotsky's theory that learning is socially constructed through interaction and real world connections. When designing my classroom for the Grade 1 Strand A unit, I would create an environment that fosters belonging, inquiry, and active participation while reflecting the goals and structure of the curriculum. During my placement, I noticed that students responded positively to predictable routines, visual supports, and areas designed for collaboration. Considering these observations, I would include a community meeting space with carpet seating where the students would gather for discussions, role play activities, and readings. I would also create a social studies inquiry center with picture books, stress up materials that represent community roles, and simple artifacts. According to Bennett et al., inclusive classrooms should provide multiple entry points for learning support and student success and reflect student identity, culture, and lived experiences. The students will be able to explore how people contribute to home, school, and community life. This physical setup supports the development of identity and active participation, which are two key components of the citizenship education framework, by encouraging students to see themselves as contributors to their community. Lastly, I would integrate a social studies word wall and bulletin board entitled Responsibilities in Our Lives. It would display the students' work, drawings, writing samples, and photographs of students helping others. This would reinforce the big idea that all students contribute to their community, roles and responsibilities change over time, and that communities function through cooperation and shared responsibility. These design choices are informed by my practicum experiences where I observed that structured, interactive environments increased student engagement and confidence. A main component of my teaching philosophy is the use of the inquiry process to support meaningful learning and critical thinking. I would guide students through the stages of inquiry, like formulating questions, gathering and organizing information, interpreting and analyzing evidence, evaluating and drawing conclusions, and communicating their learning. For example, students may explore the question: what are my responsibilities at home and school, and how do they change over time? They could gather information by interviewing family members, analyze similarities and differences between past and present responsibilities, and share their findings through drawings or discussions. This approach supports communication skills and the development of planning and processing skills, as students learn to organize information, recognize patterns, and make informed conclusions. This is why an inquiry skill that I would emphasize is asking questions and gathering information. The Ontario Social Studies curriculum identifies inquiry as key to developing critical thinking and responsible citizenship. Levstick and Barton note that inquiry in social studies allows children to investigate real life experiences and construct meaning rather than simply memorizing facts, making social studies more meaningful and engaging. In grade 1, the students can begin learning inquiry through guided questioning and observation. During my practicum, I saw how powerful student questions could be when the teacher paused to let curiosity guide the discussion. These questions can open up meaningful conversations about shared responsibility. Based on my experience, I would encourage questions like, what kind of jobs do people do at home? How do responsibilities change as we grow older? How do people help in our school? In addition to inquiry, I will intentionally integrate concepts of social studies thinking, such as continuity and change, cause and consequence, and perspective, in age appropriate ways. For example, students will explore how their responsibilities have changed as they grow older, change over time, why responsibilities are important in maintaining a community, cause and consequence, and how different family members may have different roles, perspective. These concepts help students move beyond simple understanding and toward deeper critical thinking about their world. I will also incorporate spatial skills by having students map their classroom and identify areas where responsibilities take place. This can help them understand relationships between people and places. My instructional approach will combine inquiry-based learning, play-based learning, and collaborative learning. I have found these approaches to be very effective during my practicum experience. I learned that young children engage more with the material when the learning feels interactive and meaningful. I noticed that passive worksheets rarely generate the same excitement as hands-on exploration. For example, I could take a cross-curricular approach and integrate drama by allowing the students to participate in a dramatic play center where they take on roles such as a teacher, sibling, librarian, crossing guard, bus driver, parent, or another community helper, allowing them to explore responsibilities in a hands-on way. This reflects an experiential and project-based approach to learning, where students actively construct knowledge through meaningful experiences. The students would discuss the responsibilities connected to each role and why these jobs matter. I believe play-based learning is important in primary grades, especially because it allows the students to process social ideas through action and imagination. I would also like to use read alouds to explore identity, family, and community and reflective activities that will encourage students to connect their learning to their own lives. For example, after reading a story about helping others and asking open-ended discussion questions that promote critical thinking, students could draw or write one responsibility they have now and one responsibility they may have in the future. This integrates literacy with social studies while encouraging reflection. These strategies support the development of key citizenship attributes, including empathy, responsibility, respect, and collaboration. Overall, my goal as a social studies teacher is to connect all elements of the Connecting the Pieces framework in a cohesive way and create meaningful connections between the curriculum and the students' everyday lives. By connecting the curriculum's goals, vision, and citizenship framework to big ideas, inquiry, and disciplinary thinking, I aim to create learning experiences that prepare students to become active and engaged members of their communities. My practicum experience has reinforced the importance of creating learning opportunities that are relevant, interactive, and inclusive. My placement experience showed me that students learn best when they feel seen, valued, and are actively involved. Through intentional planning and reflective practice, I will support students in making connections between the past, present, and future, as well as between their personal experiences and the world around them. By creating an inclusive environment, emphasizing inquiry, and using engaging instructional approaches, I hope to help grade 1 students understand that they already play important roles in their families, classrooms, and communities. I will nurture thoughtful and caring citizens who recognize that even small acts of responsibility can make a big difference. I'm excited to start the journey in helping young students not only develop academic skills, but to develop their character and become good people who are contributing members of society. Here are my references, and thank you for listening.